Welcome back. Today we're making Homestead breakfast scramble, one of my favorite recipes and one of the things that I like to show people who've never eaten plant-based. It's a simple recipe, it's pretty good, it's one of my preferred breakfasts. So let's just head into the kitchen and figure out how to make some tofu. When you go to buy tofu, make sure that you get the non-GMO. It's better if it's organic, but at least get non-GMO because they are modifying soybeans. They're making them Roundup ready, and that is it's just not good for our health. So we want to have non-GMO soybeans. I had some strange grinding noise in the background, so I had to voice over my original recording. You want to take your tofu and cut it open. I already did that. And then you want to drain the water off of it. And so you just peel back your plastic. And this is a firm tofu. My favorite kind to use is actually extra firm, but firm will be okay. So then you just want to take it once you've drained it, cube it in whatever sizes that you like. Today I'm going to make kind of medium cubes in mine. And just make your cubes. I grab my wonky knife that has a little snaggled tooth on it. Okay, so that's what you want to do. And then take some olive oil. This is extra virgin olive oil. Put it in your pan. And then you want to add your tofu. And when you make your tofu cubes, you're going to notice that it gets more water out. So just drain that off. My skillet's already hot, so I'm going to put my cubes in. Just spread them around. From here, you want to add your seasoning. And however your palate prefers is what you're going to want to add. I like to add onion powder, sometimes Italian seasoning, garlic powder, paprika, sometimes cumin, sometimes dill. If I did Italian seasoning, I don't add. Let's just pause here and let me explain something. You'll hear me say maybe this, a little bit of that, sometimes this. Well, if you look at the blog posts that I'm linking in the description, you'll find a better written out description of how to make these things. Also remember with tofu that you can get really creative. You can add greens, you can add vegetables, you can spice it up, you can tone it down. There's so many ways to play around with tofu to make it fit your personality and your preferences. Remember, nutritional yeast flakes, and these are really what makes it good. Okay, so we're going to start with the yeast flakes. I am going to sprinkle a generous, it's probably about 2 tablespoons. I want to coat it. That was about right. A really big heaping tablespoon. Okay, the other thing you don't want to forget is salt. Tofu does not have any flavor much of its own, and so you have to add salt. And here I'm using the Himalayan pink salt. It's just what we keep around here. Okay, so I would say at least a teaspoon, and I'm just going to wing it. I'm just going to take it and sprinkle it on here. If you watch me enough, you'll learn that I don't usually measure things. I kind of go by taste, and sometimes that will get me into trouble. But I've cooked just enough that I've usually gotten kind of an idea of how much I need. So that was probably somewhere around between a half and a teaspoon. If you want to start with half and move up, that's fine. Okay, so you salt it. Just liberally add your onion powder. Because as this cooks, it will cook into the tofu. So you just kind of want to stir or toss these things around. Make sure that it's not burning. You don't want any of your seasonings all clumped up. You're going to kind of coat it. You see the little black things in the pan? It's because I toasted some bread in the pan that was It had flax and sesame seeds on it this morning when I made Greg's lunch. So the garlic powder you want to put in, but go a little bit easy on, just a little bit. What else do you like? I mean, I like garlic, but garlic powder for some reason is really strong. Okay, now, one more thing that I'm going to add, which I didn't tell you at first, is turmeric. So this gives it a little bit of flavor, but it's mostly just for the color. Turmeric is very good for you. It's good for inflammation, so I do like to include that in as many things as I can. You just have to go careful on it because too much turmeric can make your tofu bitter. And so a little bit goes a long way. And this time I'm feeling a little bit like a Indian tofu, so I am using this natural curry powder, which I got at Yoder's, and I am just going to add about a half a teaspoon, sprinkle it on there. Already this is looking like it's getting a little bit toasted.
You just want to keep cooking your tofu, stirring it often over kind of a medium heat until it is toasty. You can add some dill or Italian seasonings, whatever you're feeling like you're in the mood for. I added the dill for the curry powder because it pairs well. The main thing you have to watch is the tofu starting to stick. So keep it moving. If you want it cooked a little bit more, then cook it until it's a little bit drier. I like mine slightly drier. If it seems to be sticking and it's not as browned as you like it, you can add a little bit more olive oil to just kind of eyeball it. This tofu here is getting to be just about right. The pieces are separated, they're getting brown. The longer you cook it, the chewier it will be. And if you start out with a firm tofu, you're going to have to cook it a little bit longer than the extra firm.
Oh, we've been getting this Follow Your Heart veggies. There's also different kinds of veggies out there, or you can make your own. And we've been getting it for a steal, buying it in bulk, and so we've been using this a lot. But if you add this to your tofu, all smashed up, add your seasonings, then in like less than probably 2 minutes, you have a tofu
Egg salad.
You can spread on bread. You can just eat it with tomatoes. It is delicious. I do love tofu. I really like it a lot. So this is getting done. And the longer you cook it, the chewier it will become, which is what I like. So one more thing that I'm going to add, just because I have it sitting here, I have some pitiful basil that I picked yesterday. I was planning to use for something else. Okay, this scrambled tofu is really good to eat with, if you have like fried potatoes or any kind of potatoes for breakfast, hash browns. It pairs really well with that. And so a lot of times for a pretty quick breakfast, I will get our pressure cooker out, our regular pressure cooker. And
You can cook your potatoes in 8 to 10 minutes in your stovetop pressure cooker.
So now our tofu is looking pretty ready to go. You just get it as brown as you like. I like to eat it either with toast. If I had sliced garden tomatoes, I would eat it with that. As it turns out, I just have one that I harvested yesterday, so that'll be on my tofu. I hope that you try it. I hope that you like it. Let me know if you do. I don't know if you know if you can see this because of all the steam, but there you have it. You have watched me cook tofu. Now you can go and do likewise. It's not that hard. Good. Enjoy.
There are so many additions that you can add to your homestead tofu. Sometimes I will add greens, sometimes I'll throw in eggplant or tomatoes or any number of things that I have on hand. So I'm going to show you another variation that I made very recently that looked pretty different. Let's try some of this red kale. It's super, super dark.
And I have some of this Thai sweet basil I'm going to add to the tofu today. Okay, I stand corrected. It is called Purple Lady Bok Choy. I did have a tag that says Scarlet Kale, and that's what I thought it was, but I guess the Scarlet Kale did not grow too well, because this is all we have, and this is more of the shape of a bok choy if we look at the base. So I'm gonna try this. Chucky, do you approve? Do you approve, Chuckaroo? What are you doing, Chucky? It's about 7:30 in the morning. Good time to come out here and harvest a few things. Okay, we're just gonna try. I got about 4 leaves of this Purple Lady Bok Choy. I don't really know much about bok choy. We grew it. It's beautiful. I think this is the Scarlet Kale, if I'm not mistaken. But I could be wrong, because look at there, it says Red Uba. I think the Scarlet Kale didn't grow. We'll take a quick look at our woods from the garden. They're getting rather golden. It's really early in the morning, so everything is misty. I'm up the hill. I'm running up the hill real quick into the greenhouse. I just grabbed some greens for the tofu that I'm making, and I am gonna check in the garden and see if there's any tomatoes I can grab for Greg's sandwiches. In the middle of making his lunch, making breakfast. Look, I still have zinnias in my garden. Our tomato plant in the greenhouse is still very tall, but it's making a couple of tomatoes. I can grab these. This is a little one. Small but mighty, they say, and I see one back here that I can grab. Yeah, this is like October 25, I think, and not bad to be getting tomatoes still. Now this greenhouse is basically like it's outside because it's not been closed off and it's not been heated. Here's a few more. Basically, I'm just sauteing the bok choy and some mushrooms and some onions in the pan, and I'm just going to get those cooked through pretty well, and then I'm adding the Thai sweet basil. It's going to be a beautiful dish, and it's just really colorful. I'm just going to cube the tofu as I did before, add it to the greens when they get soft, and then season it as before. I always just like to see what I'm adding and see what seems to fit together as far as onion powder, nutritional yeast flakes, and garlic powder are almost always my staples, and then the things like cumin or curry powder I play around with. Since I forgot to take an after shot, we are just going to have to be content at looking at this other skillet that I made of tofu where I added lots of cherry tomatoes. And one thing that I neglected to tell you that I added to this current one was cubed eggplant. It turned out very well. It paired well with that Thai sweet basil. Yeah, so don't be afraid to add this or that, whatever strikes your fancy. Enjoy your tofu.